on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're talking part 3 of the Cowboy Boot Care series, which is polishing your boots. I'm going to go over the tools that you're going to need in order to do so, show you guys how to do it, and also go over some of the benefits of polishing your cowboy boots. Now, before we get into it, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button below, and also don't be afraid to ring that bell. It never hurts. Now, before we get into the polishing, let's do a little bit of a recap, which the links for the first 2 videos in this series will be in the description below, so please feel free to check those out as well to get the full encompassment of the information at hand. Now, first, we scrubbed our boots, right? We cleaned them up, got all the dirt and grime off. Next, we conditioned our boots. We replenished some of the essential oils and re-moisturized the skin that was lost in normal wear and tear from the cleaning. Now, step 3, your next step that we're going to go over today is going to be polishing. Now, first off, why do you want to polish your boots? Well, first off, it's going to give them a little bit of a better appearance. It's going to make them look a little bit more presentable, cover up some of the scuffs and scratches that you may or may not get in the leather, depending on how hard you wear your boots. And also, it's going to add a protective layer to it also, depending on the type of polish that you use. So it's not going to fully waterproof them, but it's going to have a light protective layer over them to protect against light moisture and stuff like that. And also, if you're using a higher end shoe polish, you're going to also add some more of the essential oils that keep the boots nice and supple and soft back into the boot. Now, you have 2 options for shoe polish. You have a wax polish, which I do not have, and you also have a cream polish. And I have this one from Saphir to use for you guys here today. It's what I typically use for my boots. That's what it looks like on the inside. It has a real creamy texture to that, which I'll show you guys that whenever I get it on the brush and start polishing. Now, what are the tools you're going to need for polishing your boots aside from the polish? Well, you're going to want to get a brush for buffing, like this horsehair brush that I've showed you guys in the previous videos. You're also going to want to get some rags. You can use this type of a rag, which you can find at a lot of Western wear stores. One side's got a rougher feel to it. That's to buff the polish. And the other side's softer, and that's to bring out your shine. Also, I like to use this, this I actually got from an old shirt, but it's a textured piece of cloth. I cut it off an old shirt. I sometimes like to use that to buff my boots as well on polishing. And you're going to want a soft cloth to bring out that nice shine, which you can use, you can buy them, but you can use any old t-shirt and any old cloth that you can cut up. And you're going to want some type of a small brush as well, possibly, to apply the polish with. And this brush is specifically made for shoe polish. And I'm going to link in the description below where to buy all this stuff at, so be sure to check that out. You can also apply your polish with a cloth. You don't want to use the same cloth that you use to shine it with, but you can get a cloth also to apply the polish. Try both ways, see which way works best for you. I find a brush works best for me, so that's what I'm going to use for you guys today. I'm going to move this stuff out of the way here. Now, I'm going to try to avoid from moving the table too much on you guys. That way it doesn't shake the camera. So I apologize if it moves a little bit from my polishing. Now, let's get into the polishing here. And I have with the other boot that goes to this, I had actually applied the polish before the video so that we aren't sitting too long waiting for it. Now, I have the Saphir Medal d'Or cream shoe polish. I got this off of Hanger Project. I think I paid about $21 for it or something along those lines. I'm going to take my brush and get a nice little layer. You don't want to apply too much to it. You can always go back and apply more. But just you want to do a nice light layer, light coating on this whenever you first do it. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to take off the polish whenever you go to buff and shine it. And what I'll usually do is just stick my hand in there. You can also use shoe trees to do this, but you want to put something in there that's going to bump out the leather and keep it from collapsing in on you. And usually what I'll do is I'll start at the top of the boot here and just apply it all over. And just in a nice light layer. Now the difference between the cream polish and a wax polish is going to be the cream polish is going to usually be more moisturizing for your leather, whereas a wax polish is going to actually offer a little bit more protection. So you guys can kind of use that information to determine what type is going to be best for you. I find that a cream polish is best for me. I'm not big on wax polishes, but everybody has their own preferences. So just play around with both types and see what works best for you. And whenever it comes to color, you're going to match the color to your leather. You usually don't want to use a different colored shoe polish because it's going to mess up the color of the boot. With black's pretty easy because it's black, so any black shoe polish will typically work for any black boot. Browns, you're going to want to kind of either have the boot with you or get samples of whatever brand of polish you pick and match it the best in color you can. Now I'll just go all around the boot. You can see it's a little bit shinier from the polish being on it. And I actually do need a little bit more, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to just apply a little tiny bit more. I'm going to show you the guys the brush. I know the lighting's not super bright and it might be hard to see. Get a little bit on my finger. See, it's almost like a paint. Let me get that wiped off real quick so I don't get it on anything. Because my table's white, so I don't want to try not to get polish on it. That was actually a little bit too much. But I'm just going to work that into the leather. Make sure whenever you're doing it, you're getting in down where the welt is too. And that's the nice part about these little brushes is if you're stitching for your welt, sometimes you'll have the black stitching for the welt and sometimes you'll have white stitching. The nice part about the little tiny brushes, you can get in those nooks and crannies more easily as opposed to a cloth. So you're going to be able to avoid a little bit easier getting that polish on your stitching. Now once you have a nice light coating on there, go around, make sure that you spread it with your cloth or your brush, whatever you're using. Make sure you spread it around. You don't want real uneven areas. That looks pretty good. Now after I'm going to get this little bowl here to put the brush in so I don't knock it over onto my carpet. Be careful with polishes, by the way, they can stain carpets. Before you polish, if you're doing it on the floor, you might want to put newspaper or some type of a cloth down. Now with polishes, they all have their own dry times. It depends on the brand and what type of polish you have. But usually it will say on the packaging how long it takes. And for the Medallion Or, the Saphir takes 5 minutes. I don't know if that focused in good enough for you guys or not. So that's why we had applied the polish to the boot, or why I had applied, there's no we, I guess, why I had polished applied the polish to the other boot before the video started. And you can see it's kind of foggy looking almost. It's got a little bit of a shine to it. I do take pretty decent care of my boots so they don't get too bad. But once it's dry, it'll have that foggy appearance to it. Then once it reaches that point, you want to take your brush or your buffing cloth, whatever you're using. This one I have is from Kiwi also. And you want to just rub that on the boot. Get that. You want to do it as fast as you can and apply a good bit of pressure because you want to heat up that polish whenever you're doing this. And you can go, side to side, up and down, it don't matter. You want to get the excess polish off with this and soften that polish up as much as possible so that it's much easier to bring out that shine with your soft cloth whenever you go to do that part of it, which will be the next part of this. Make sure you get around the heel or the toe real good. And there's really no set amount of time you want to take to do this. You know, the longer you do it, the better your shine is going to be. Alright, so I think that's... Trying to take off my wrist there with that. Yeah, it's starting to vibrate the camera, so we're not going to do that on the table. Okay. So I'm about... I'd say that's probably good enough. And also you want to... If you have like brown shoes, brown boots, black boots, black cherry boots, you want to use different brushes for each type of polish in each boot. You don't want to mix your brown polish and your black polish with your other polishes, because then it's going to rub off onto the other boots. If you had just used this brush to do a black pair of boots, and then you, even if you rinse it out, whenever you go to do the brown boots, a little bit of that polish is still going to be in there. So you want to use a different brush because it'll mix and mess up the color of your leather. So now I'm going to take my rag. Like I said, you can either buy a cotton chamois, which is what you'll see them labeled as most of the time, or you can just cut up an old t-shirt. Don't matter. They each work, both work just as well as the other is. So now I'm going to just rub the cotton chamois onto the boot. I want to get that polish off to the best of my ability. And you do want to make sure you get all your polish off, because it will come off onto your clothes and it will stain your clothes. So we're going to just rub along here for a little bit. Make sure we're getting the back real good. Sometimes I'll even, whenever I first start, sometimes I'll even just ball it up. If you put on a thicker coat of polish, having it balled up at first helps to take the excess off. And you can see, I'm going to keep going, but you can see it's starting to bring that nice shine out on that boot. And I'd say depending on your leather, it's going to, depending on the type of leather, is going to be what you're going to want to do. Like if you have a, sorry about that, I put it on the table. But if you have a smooth leather, you're going to always want to polish your boots, just because that's how they're intended to look. But if you have a rougher leather or something like that, or a textured leather, you can usually avoid polishing and just do the first two steps I had showed you guys, the cleaning and the conditioning, because those types of leathers usually are not made to be polished. Sometimes they're not made to be polished, sometimes they can go either way. So it just depends on your leather, whether or not you do this step or not. But a smooth leather you almost always want to polish. Now if you don't polish it, I mean, if you're into a more distressed look, your boots will develop a distressed look over time, so I guess that can be a benefit from not polishing. But I do recommend polishing your boots. It gives them a nicer appearance, more presentable appearance. Like, it goes back to what I said in the first video. Whenever you first meet somebody, one of the first things they do notice is how your shoes or your boots look. And if you have a well-kept pair of shoes, nice cleaned, shiny pair of boots, it's going to leave a better impression on them generally than, better first impression generally than if you have something that's all tore up, cracked up, has all kinds of color washed out on it. So I do recommend polishing them, just because it leaves a better first impression with other people. And plus, it's better for the leather, too. It adds, the polish, like I said, adds a more protective coating to the boot. Or a little bit of a protective coating to the boot. So I'd say that's pretty good. That's about where I'd usually want to have it at. I might go back in later on and touch it up. So the Saphir brought out that shine very, very nicely. And honestly, since I started using the Saphir, I swear by it. I love Saphir. As far as the polish goes, I think it's probably the best shoe polish I've ever used. And I've used other brands like Scout and Kiwi, but this hands down kicks butt. So that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped you guys, gave you guys some tips and showed you how to polish your boots if you did not know how to do so already. And be sure to tune in next time for the fourth and final part in the Cowboy Boot series, Cowboy Boot Care series, I apologize, which is dressing. Now, you probably don't know what I mean by dressing, so tune in next time to find out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful night.